I think we gotta give it a few seconds for the TikTok to grasp the volume we just started and the mic text, testing the microphones and the audio phones and the earphone. Ah, it's been a day. The sun is shining, the weather is good, but here I am, another Sunday, here to speak to the people, debate and conversate about emotions, trauma, emotions, the expressiveness of our emotions, the root cause of our emotion. Why are we the way that we are? It's as an intelligent person, you should ask yourself eventually, why are you the way you are? In terms of emotions, why do you find it difficult, for example, to express your emotions? Why is it easy for you to express your emotions? And these are the things that we have to take into consideration when we speak of emotional intelligence. And it's one thing that many people are quick to um, use the word or the phrase emotional intelligence. I'm looking for a man who is emotionally intelligent. I am looking for a woman who is emotionally intelligent. But then lies the question, when we do get these people who are emotionally intelligent, what do we do with them? And these are the questions that we have to ask ourselves. What do we do with these emotionally intelligent people that we hold dearest to our hearts? You know, because people who are so-called, in air quotes, emotionally intelligent are people who may not necessarily agree with us in ways that we want to be agreed with. So therefore, we have to find the right balance between who we want to be and the emotions that we are capable of expressing. Many people speak on that the problem of hello, I'm a goat. Of that African men are not capable of expressing emotions, and it's one phrase that I hear often or not, only from people who either lived in the continent of Africa or somewhere else and then traversed into Europe, then eventually they realize that I'm fine, I'm fine, I'm fine. It's another Sunday, and I'm here talking about things I usually talk about. How have you been yourself? You've been good. I know you've been good. I've seen a couple of your videos. You've been glowing. I'm sensing you are becoming rich. I can see the richness. You know, I sense you are those type of people who might not tell that you are rich, but there will be signs. There will be signs of richness. No. So I'm seeing the signs. I'm seeing the signs that you become rich. Yeah, we are getting there eventually. Eventually, small, small. Yeah. But I want it to be faster. We need to get there faster. Time is of the essence. Richness must come now, not later. But yeah, so people do use the phrase, I want an emotionally intelligent man, especially people of African descent. Then once you ask yourself the question, why do you want it only when you are in Europe? That you want an emotional intelligent man. Therefore, you hear them answer your own question that maybe the emotions that we do express back home is perfect for the environment that we find ourselves. But when we do come to Europe, then we find out then there is a mismatch between our behavior and the Western expectations. That is why in many times you find, let's say, black women or black men wanting to date, let's say, a white person or vice versa. And then I ask myself the question, do you want to date let's say a white person or someone who is not African, because you don't want to deal with the trauma that you have and the emotions. Because for me, I don't see the reason to one person saying that, oh, black men are a certain way, but a white man is better. But for me, what I see with all the people that I know, especially the black women I know that do date white men and religiously date only white men, I see that there is a pattern between the type of trauma they have and what they want to avoid. Meaning, you see that they choose to date these people just so that they don't get triggered or challenged in ways that
No,
they are
what's
not
up, boss?
ready. They are not ready to be challenged. Hello, how should I refer to
What's
you
up?
as?
Dude, just refer to me as Kirby.
Kirby.
Don't overthink it. It's okay.
Okay. Okay.
Number one,
Hello,
can
Kirby.
oppression
Where, where,
change how
where, where,
generations?
where are you streaming
Oh,
from?
what am I streaming from or
Yeah.
why?
Where are you
I'm
streaming?
just, oh, I'm from, dude. I'm like a little south of Seattle. I'm in Washington State.
Okay. 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 That's nice. It's
Yeah.
nice. It's nice to see I'm reaching places that I'm not used to reaching. But yeah. Okay. How do you want to
Yeah, bro. I'm
participate in the
cool.
live today?
Well, I'd like to just create an argument. Just enjoy the idea of arguing. And you don't seem like an idiot. You seem pretty chill and intelligent, and not gonna say something dumb. So I would enjoy this. I would enjoy this
Thank,
thoroughly.
thank you very much. So you wanted to
Yeah.
tackle the first question, right?
Yeah, well, all of these preferably, but we can start with the first. Can oppression change how generations express emotion? Personally, personally, I absolutely believe in this because if you look in America, okay, for example, if you look in black populations after slavery, you can see how just fundamentally there is a general belief in how, well, generally there is a general belief across America, at least with white America typically, and other races too. But there is a general belief that black culture has diminished and become degenerative, for example. Even though it is not, it is not, I honestly don't think it's like a black people's fault, okay? It's not their fault. Obviously, they have played roles in it, but there is a reasonable argument for this, which I will get to soon. But oppression absolutely plays into how generations express emotion. I mean, if you look at the modern generation, we are plagued by violence, plagued by a lot of things, just generally just bad behavior, look at the teen takeovers, bro. That's crazy as hell. But it is caused by governmental, how do I say it, interference with black populations, generally just every population actually. I mean, seriously, do you see how in America, okay, I don't know where you're from, but do you see how in America we portray certain races with a general picture, you know?
Yeah, we do see it. We all see it globally. We know how America is.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and it's just sad because, fundamentally, biologically, a lot of races, for example, they like to say that, oh, black people are just naturally dumber when they're not. They're just as even as me, I'm white for the record. They're just as equal as me, an Asian, a Mexican, a Native American, a Pacific Islander, everybody, bro. We're all equal when it comes to cognitive. Well, not really, because I'm not gonna lie. I just argued with some of the dumbest people ever on earth, and dude, sometimes I'm astonished at the stupidity of the human race. But objectively, we all have the potential to be smarter. Obviously, some of us are genetically predispositioned to be smarter, but a black person and a white person both have pretty much the same odds to be just as smart. It all depends on, development and funding for education, things like that.
Let me agree.
Yeah.
Hello, my gold. Uh, okay. Yeah,
Can you hear me?
yeah, yeah. Now we can hear you.
All right. So for me, I would say that I live in Africa. I'm African. I'm Ghanaian, and I would say that over a couple of years, if a certain type of way of thinking has become the norm of a group of people, it takes so much for someone to think away from that programming or away from that mentality, right?
I agree. I
So
agree.
Just
yes.
Kirby,
So let
just wait when someone is talking, mute yourself so they can ensure you don't interfere. Sorry, thank you.
Got you. My apologies. I just wanted to agree.
it takes a lot of unlearning and relearning and getting exposed to a different way of life than what you're used to for you to be able to. So one thing about this generation that I love so much is that they ask questions about everything. Just because it's been done over a couple of years and it's been the norm of people doesn't mean that it's applicable now. So that's one thing I actually love about this generation, because just because you've been doing it and that's how you were raised to be, that's how your people are meant to be, that's the norm that you're used to, doesn't mean that it's the same everywhere that I go. Because let's say I grew up in a place where there was a lot of, abusive words all over the place. People were just throwing their hands all over the place. That becomes a norm to me because it's like, this is the norm that I'm used to. Sorry. When I move into an environment where that is not the norm for them, it is up to me to ask myself that why are these people not behaving that way? Is it even okay for people to throw abusive words and throw their hands around all the time? Why is pain a norm for me? So if there's a new way of living, it is up to me to deconstruct what I already know and then relearn the things that are good for me now without necessarily making it about gender, about race, about whatever. It's all, I say that every individual has this inbuilt conscience or inbuilt structure that helps them to detect what is good for them and what is not. It is up to you to learn and be exposed and explore to new things that you're not used to. One of the best ways to learn new things is understanding that there's a way that you have been raised to become. There's a reason you think the way you think. There's a reason why you do the things that you do. Now you've been exposed to a different environments. Usually I say to people that when you go to school, it's not just about what you're going to read in the books. It's about interacting with people from different places, people from different backgrounds that are different from yours, and knowing how to interact with them, knowing how to know that no, this person's behavior is out of norm, is not really sensible. It doesn't make sense why this person should behave that way. That is why there are also laws that govern people's behavior in school. So you are able to mix with people from different places, and then you're able to decipher which kind of exposure will help your growth, will help your emotions, your intelligence level. But then a lot of people want to get stuck in how they were brought up, the things that they are used to, that they don't see any need to learn something new that is, even if they know deep down in them that it's going to be beneficial to them. That is the problem that we have. People don't want to learn from new things, they just want to be stuck. So anytime I'm talking to someone and the person's like, oh, back in the days, this is how we used to be, so it should be done the same way now. I tell myself, you're not intelligent. Even if it should be done the same way now, what are the thoughts that you've thought about these things? What are the processes that you've gone through with these things that you're talking about, that you've come to the conclusion that it can be done this way again and it will still work? But just because some dead people made a tradition and they were following it because it worked for them at that time doesn't mean that it's going to work for us in this time. There are things that we're used to now that was never available back then. And there are things that people after us are going to get used to that we may not even be exposed to them and we may not even know how it works. So I feel like people should be able to learn something new and understand that there are certain things that they already know is not good for them, it's not good for all of us. So we need to drop it. Now the problem is defining which one is good to progress with and which one should be left behind. That is where we're stuck as people.
I, for one, agree with you in almost everything you've said. There's one thing that I wanted to talk more about, and it's what you say that we have a generation of people who now challenges everything now. And I find myself to be one of those people because I remember in Ghana, usually when an adult is telling a lie, I don't know if you've witnessed it, they'll tell you you as a child you can't say an adult is lying. And it's one of the things that I hated hearing, because you know damn well that this person is not telling the truth of what happened or the account of what happened is not true. And Kirby, this is something that is, I don't know if it's uniquely Ghana, but in many other African countries, the same way where you don't speak um, up when an adult is speaking. Usually, as a child, you have to keep quiet and just listen and take the abuse as it comes. But then I find myself to be one of those people who refused to be oppressed. Uh, let's say, or I'll be silenced, if I should say, when I know I am right. And that's the thing that has baffled me and has really reshaped my mind to be who I am today, where I don't allow, just because you're an adult, I'm going to allow you to bully your way into fame or into uh, to pardon yourself, even if you are wrong. And that is one thing that I think more people should be expressing more about. And you speak more of what is right and what is wrong, and things that do change. Yes, times change. But then Africa finds itself in a very fragile position where we are heavily influenced by outside thoughts, where even if we are trying to evolve in ways um, that I would say that is beneficial to us, it is quickly that we implement things that might damage our the ways that we are trying to evolve. So as I said, it's difficult, as you mentioned, to know which aspect of let's say our evolution is good and which is bad. But yet again, it is true. I understand why people want to hold on to the past because it brings comfort to them and do not want to try something new. And I myself, I'll be honest, I've been a victim of such. But then I do dig deeper to why I want to keep the old ways alive because either it benefits me and that's it, and or I think it is more beneficial for us as a group of people to stick to these ways than implementing new ways. Because so I now try to look at the collective good of what that thing can bring. So easily comes the topic of and I'm not trying to divert the conversation to LGBTQ. But yes, again, we find ourselves in a unique space where people are claiming it's about high time we legitimize LGBTQ activities in African nation stuff. So I'm going to stick to Ghana, for example. Then people will say, but we have never had those things, but we want it to be like the way we've used to. We've always had it, meaning that people who are gay or whatever are closeted, right? Where we want you to do whatever you want to do in your own private space. Public space is for everyone, and it brings a unique challenge, a unique dynamic between the old generation and new generation to what is right and what is wrong. So the old generation want to keep the old ways and claim things are false, or new ways are wrong. The new age is wrong, but here comes the new age people, myself included, who say the newer generation say that the old generation is wrong. So then it brings a unique challenge where I think we have to sit down and conversate about and have understanding. And sometimes it comes to lack of understanding. The old people don't understand how times have changed, and the new people don't understand how things used to be. Before, we didn't have cars, right? Now cars are a very significant part of human interaction. Where now in places like Ghana, you can order stuff. You could easily, within a day or less than a day, things could be shipped from the north side of Ghana to the south side of Ghana. Where before it used to take days. So these are the things that we think we need to sit down and conversate about. But then diving back to the question, if oppression changed how generation express emotion, I for one say yes. Oppression changes how generations, even as individual, how we express emotions. So if you were oppressed in your own family, either because of religion or because of social pressure or whatever, if your parents want you to do good in school, and so on. I for one, the people who I went to school with who were doing good, you find yourself now that they are even far behind all of us that we sucked in school. And I don't know if you can attest to that, Amma. Good.
I can actually. I have so much to say about that.
Yeah, you do ahead. Go, say, talk.
So when it comes to our community, right, one of the things that our parents fail to understand is that we are all not the same, regardless of we can grow up in one household and we'll turn out differently. So the whole thing is It's not about beating sense into a child. It's not about forcing a child to do what you think is right for them. Even though, yes, as a parent, there are certain points in life, in your child's life, that you need to know that no, this my child is choosing foolish, so let me put them back on track. But then how it is done makes it demeaning in our
Mm.
African community. A lot. A lot of the people that were beaten the most in my school were beaten because of academic performance, not because they were behaving badly, not because they were. I don't know if you experienced that, where they will mention the people that didn't do well and they'll beat them because they didn't do well academically,
I remember.
and then these things would then like it will weigh on this child, and some of them actually come to accept that there's nothing good that can ever come out of me. So they just lay back and don't even try anymore because guess what? The worst you do is to call me out in front of the whole school and beat me up. That's the worst you could do. So they just stay back on that. And you mentioned something about refusing to be programmed in a way that didn't suit what you hold as right, right?
Yes.
Personally, growing up, I was called so many names. And I'm so grateful that I never backed down on it. You realize that the children that were considered, oh, is the black sheep of the family. Now look at them as adults. They are making it. The only thing that a lot of them are making it, I'm not gonna lie, even though yes, there are some that are not really doing well. And then those who were raised to be people pleasers and those who were like told that oh they were the good ones and they were the conforming ones, a lot of them do not even know how to make decisions for themselves. And it's very hard because we are told to be shaped and formed in a way, even if we have questions to ask about it, nobody was ready to listen and even give us an answer to that.
Mm.
One of the best ways you can raise a child is to listen to their questions, no matter how foolish they may seem. But in our days, we didn't get it like that. In our days, who would even listen to a child asking questions? They'll just shut you down. Shut up. Why are you talking? You need to listen. But they never listen to you. You
You,
see, so most of the time, we are beaten for things that we needed to be talked to about, and the things that we actually needed some ass whooping on, we were not whooped.
I've always had this philosophy, and is to create the conditions and the realities that I want to live in. So I remember, as you say, and I attest to it, that I
Yes,
was I was never listened to myself. So then I had to be, as like you, rebellious in ways that
exactly.
was painful to everyone that was involved. That I don't care if I'm hurt in the process, but so far as I get my will, then I'm happy. So knowing that it has proven to work is one thing that I do teach other youngings to be able to voice their frustrations to their parents, that you have to tell an adult that you are wrong. You know, you have to correct.
Growing up, there was this thing that as a child, you can never be right in the presence of an adult.
That is true.
So our adults thought that things like respect and being anyhow with kids was
Hmm.
their birthright.
Yes.
They treated it as their birthright,
Mind
such that
you.
they would demand respect. They will treat you bad, and they know definitely that when we take it to the elders or the authorities,
Mhm.
you will still be the one at fault because you are the child here. And that's, I'll say that that's one of the things that falls under, can oppression change how generations express emotion? Because of this, now people are growing up with that same mentality,
Mhm.
thinking that now that they have served their their oppression time, so
Mhm.
now it's time that they get served as well.
Yeah.
And they are now meeting a generation that's saying, if you don't earn it, you are not entitled to it.
Mm.
You need to earn it. And a lot of my age group are pissed because I did it when I was younger. I was told I was quiet. I didn't speak. I was told to shut up, and I did. Why is it that it's now my turn to tell you what to do? You don't want to do it.
That
So
is true.
now they will name you rebellious. They will name you as you are non-conforming. You're this. You're that. But I so much love the new generation of children. Yeah, even though yes they have their own issues that we need to address, but I only love the fact that they will question it if it doesn't make sense, and I
Yeah,
love it.
yeah. I think, and I always say this, that I think if I was in Ghana past the age of 15, I would have killed somebody. Not because I'm yearning to kill somebody, just because of the treatment. Like if I go to school and someone tells me just because I'm older than you, I'm gonna polish my. If you have the right to take your food, my food, well then you have to bleed for it. And that is a mentality that I
Do you
still.
believe that it's one of the things that I'm so afraid to, like, if I should have a child,
Mhm.
taking that child to a boarding school is one of the things I'm afraid of. Because if I tell you the bullying that is, especially in same sex secondary schools, oh my days, they
Oh,
call something welcome whooping, where they just beat you up for no reason, just because you're new.
and that is my issue. That me, I hate oppression. So, as I say, I will be in the first page. I would have bombed the school. Me, I know for myself for sure. I would have bombed the school and hurt a lot of people just to spark the conversation about bullying people nonsensely. And I think when I was writing the script for this live, something got me thinking into the state of mind of post-colonial people, and this goes to all people who were colonized from Africas to the Americas. It's like, what is our state of mind, and to why are we in the current state of mind that we are in? And for me, as an African and who have lived with Africans, and I can only speak about the African experience, and those of you who are non-Africans but who have been colonized in some way, shape, or form. Scott, I know you're there. You can join and exchange your experience. I find that we are in a state of mind that, if I should put it in a term, I would say a term of a state of mind of what I would call resilience. And the reason why I say is that we are always finding like positive ways to adapt to the challenges that we face. That is why many people will say we are incapable of expressing emotions. So some will say like black men, and I think you have seen it with your parents, can only express these two emotions, either happiness or anger. There's no in between, only those two. And it got me thinking to why is it that across the board, post-colonial people, African men especially, only express these emotions, only anger, especially anger. And when I try to ask people, or when new generation ask people, why are you mad? Then all of a sudden it's like, why are you questioning me? Why I'm mad? Can't you see why I'm mad? And it's like it's already a certainty that people will understand automatically why a man or an adult is mad, and I think it's one of the issues where the young generation and the old generation clash when it comes to the emotion direction, because the young generation want to express a spectrum of emotions, or more emotions than anger and how do you call it, and happiness. Sometimes they want to express some other forms of happiness, carefree start of life, but then here lies the older generation that say that we've always or once been where you are, and we know that these emotions will not benefit you, so it's better to adopt the ones that will help you survive. I don't know if you've experienced uh, or understand what I'm trying to say, Yama.
I do. So let me say this as well. When it comes to the expression of emotion among, I can mostly talk about Ghanaian men or African men, because that's the proxy that I'm in, right? So when it comes to African men, I would say that it's not just men that are telling men to bottle things up, but even our women are telling men to bottle things up.
Mm,
And when a series of things have been crushed in a space where it needs to be out from time to time, there's going to be no more space to keep any extra thing. So what happens? It explodes. And there's nothing that has exploded calmly before. Everything that gets to a point of explosion, it explodes with a boom and a bam and a grum. It's never nice. I've never heard of anything that exploded calm and quiet.
Mm,
It always comes with something that is a nuance.
mm,
So when it comes to how men express themselves, I keep telling people that look, it's better to have a quote unquote weak man who is alive than a strong one that is in the grave.
mm,
I repeat, it is better to have quote unquote. The reason why I put it on quote is that what we call weak is someone just being human.
mm.
Before before this whole ultrasound scans that could tell the gender of a child that is going to be born, we only knew one thing, that a human being is going to be born. So you were a human being first before you were a boy or a girl, before you are whatever, before you are anything, you're human. But then we tend to make it look like if a man is expressing their basic human tendencies, they are considered as weak. It's like being a man raised in Africa, it robs you of your humanity. So you tend to bottle up a lot of things in you, expressions that are supposed to be let out, and just sometimes you don't even need someone to solve the problem, or you don't need anyone to. You just want it to be heard by someone else. You just want to be heard so that at least you know that there's one more person out there that feels what you feel. But then they are told to men don't cry. I'm sure you've heard this over and over.
I have.
The men don't cry. Be a man. But then, what is a man? You tell me to be a man, but what is a man? A lot of our African men were never raised to be men. They were raised not to be women because they don't have a particular blueprint of what a man is. So if you're telling me to be a man, you need to teach me what a man is. And being a man doesn't take away the fact that you can be empathetic. Being a man doesn't mean that it doesn't take away the fact that you can get emotional, and they make it look like being emotional is an insult. It's not. I'm human, basically. So being a man is just you not expressing what a natural human being should express, apart from happiness and anger. But guess what? How many men do you see in Africa that are happy, genuinely? Because they are never told to really be human. And the funny thing is that their community of men would even laugh at you for being human. If a man gets brokenhearted, if
Mhm.
a man gets rejected somewhere, if a man gets uh, if a man gets to a point in life where they are at their lowest, 10 men can be playing football for the past 10 years and they don't even know their names. Let's start there. Let's start from there. So how do you even go up to someone and express the deepest part of yourself to them if the only thing they know about you is the shallow parts of. So you can have someone among a group of friends, and out of that group of friends, they don't even have anyone that they can call and tell them, man, I'm not feeling okay tonight. I just don't know what's going on with me, but my mind is choked. My heart is is like pressed. I just don't feel okay, and they'll tell you what exactly it is. Do you need me to show up at your door? Do you need someone to sit and talk with? How many men can actually boast of such a person in their life who is also a man?
One thing I wanted to say and touch upon, like what a man is. Most of us were raised by uh, single parents, or that even you had a father, but he was almost not present. So the indoctrination or the teaching of how to become a man was left to your mother. Then I asked myself, and you are a woman, if you were given the task to raise a man to be a man, are you even confident that you can teach a man what a man is supposed to be? Because I think most of us are men under the guidance or the blueprint of a woman's perception of what a man is supposed to be. So I don't know if you know, because I do have family relations friends who are single mothers who are now raising sons, and they're like, I now understand the importance of having a man around. In many cases, they will say, "Oh, I want you to do this because, or I want my son to be more manly." Then I ask myself, you as a woman can't teach him what manly is. If you want your son to be, let's say, manly like I am, then I have to do the training or the teaching of what a man is supposed to be. But if it was left to you, you will shape him into a man that can only satisfy you because you have only your experience. And I think that's what most of the men live with, the
Sorry to
perception.
cut you in. Sorry to cut in.
No, no problem.
But then you remember that I said a lot of men were raised not to be women, right?
Hmm, hmm.
But not necessarily having any blueprint of what a man is. And I think that also comes to your point where we were mostly raised by our mothers, and our mothers knew what being a woman is. So they only raised a man not to be that.
Mm.
Because trust me, me that I'm talking plenty like this, if you should give me a boy to raise, I may end up doing a terrible job. Because guess what? I have never been a man in my life. I am not a man and I will never be a man. So there are certain things that a man experiences in a man's world I would never be able to understand. Just like I cannot explain, um, I may be able to explain the menstrual cycle and the fertility of a woman to a man. He will understand it theoretically, but practically, it's only another woman that can understand exactly what I mean.
Mm.
Do you get? So back to the point where you said a lot of us were the raising of the children, the emotional, the psychological, the mental, and all that raising of the children were mostly left to our mothers, and our mothers knew only how to be women. So most of them trained the boys not to be women.
Mm.
So me, if you ask me, can I raise a boy? I may be able to do my best with the new knowledge that I know, but I may still end up doing a terrible job.
That is true, and it's with great respect that you are honest about it, you know. And the same way, if I was given a task to raise a girl, I would raise a girl of my perception, what I think a girl is supposed to be. And right or wrong, there is no, I don't know how good I would perform, but I think I'll do the best that I can or the best that I know how, you know. And as you say, only a man can, know the practical part of a man, and a woman can know the practical aspects of what a woman is supposed to be. Hello, Scott. I know it's morning in Canada, so
Yeah, I'm still in the
waking
process
up.
of getting a coffee and making sure all the dogs are out to pee. And your topic this morning's pretty interesting, so I thought I'd chime in. My weekend has been busy because I have to or had to chase a couple fatherless children around the reservation this weekend on quads.
Mm,
Um, Yeah, it's I see all far too often how uh, fatherless sons grow up and the things that they get into because they don't have dads at home to teach them how to be proper men, I suppose. Uh, you get these 32-year-old, 10-year-olds who, you know, just don't get it, have no clue, have no want to know. They just they go around life hurting other people without uh, kind of any thought towards it. So my job's tough. Intergenerational trauma, all kinds of these things are contributors to it. But yeah, that's why they pay me the mediocre bucks. So I got to deal with all the social fallout from these kinds of situations.
but
Um, Yeah.
I wanted to ask a question, and the question about, most people are raised by in unfortunate situation or unfortunate people, and I know some people will agree that some people shouldn't be having children to begin with, in which, for example, you have a child and you didn't even want that child to begin with, right? But because I'm gonna mute you a second, Scott, because of circumstances you had to raise that child. So I'm under the impression that it's evident that there are some children out there that are being raised by hostile people with hostile reasons under hostile conditions because of the how the child came about, you know. And I think these children would then grow up and be part of society, and we have to deal with these people. Either they be our teachers, our presidents, our brothers, and so on. And I think that is the root cause of most of the situations that we face in our society, that we live with hostile people who in many cases don't know any better, because I know people who are not aware of how they express their emotions, like they don't understand the root cause of their emotion. They think that's all I know and all I've remembered. And of course it's not fundamentally right, but then it asks the question, does religion plays a role in how you express emotions? And I'm gonna leave it to you guys to answer.
When it comes to the issue of religion, yeah, I feel like for most people, religion is more like the blueprint of what they've known, or the fundamental of everything that they know. So they raise people with religion. But before I even go on to that, let's make it clear that having a father figure or a male figure in a child's life is not necessarily the birth father of that child, because you can have the birth father. I used to teach in this nursery school, but I was in the kindergarten sector. So one time I was like, everybody should describe their father. There was one girl called Kumsin. She's like, my dad gives me money. That's all she could tell about the father. She has nothing else. I asked her, okay, aside money, yeah, he gave me 100 cities this morning. I'm like, and everything she had to say was money. And I'm like, this child is practically being raised by a single mother without a present father. So if this child should have like an uncle, a reasonable uncle, maybe some men in the community, is a boy, some men in the community who will bring him close, teach him the things that ideally his father is supposed to be the one teaching. That child is still having a father figure in his life. It may not be his biological father, but then as long as it is men, reasonable men for that matter, that are grooming this child to become a responsible gentleman, then that child equally has a father figure. So I keep telling our men that look, you can retire from whatever job that is bringing you the money you're providing for the family with, but you will never be able to retire from a child, and you will regret missing out on the actual time that you were supposed to be present in your child's life for them. So that's more precious. For a lot of our African men, to them, they are raised to go out there and make money and get access to any woman that they think they prefer, and then raise children. And they talk about leaving a legacy. What legacy?
Mm.
It's just that a lot of them, I've heard people say, oh, I want to continue my bloodline, I want to continue my legacy, but they don't even know what the meaning of what they're talking about. They're just saying it because everybody's saying the same thing. It's not just about money. We are so poor that the only thing we can boast of and be proud of is money. But when it comes to emotional availability, we don't even know what it is. When it comes to um, being, I tell people, apart from your financial resources, you need to check your emotional budget. You need to check your mental budget. You need to check your physical budget before concluding that I am ready for a child. It's not just about having money to buy diapers and baby feed. What's your emotional budget? What's your physical budget? You could have billions of dollars, but your body can only take two children. Have two. There's nothing wrong with you. Maybe emotionally and mentally, you can only go in for one child. That's all that your emotions can cater for. That is your emotional budget. Don't go beyond that. Because you can have all the money, and then the other aspect of raising a child, if your budget is not really good enough, you will still fail.
Mm. I for one, I think I'm gonna greet you to the channel first before I continue. Who platform it was Jay?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, hey, how you doing?
Doing all right, man. How are you?
I'm also fine. I think we are fine.
Great, great. Um, what our lady friend here said was pretty much spot on. The African society is a society of survival, right? It's a society of survival where it, you know how we often talk about how the discussions of mental health and all those things are quote unquote first world problems. When you haven't like the notion behind that is when you haven't figured out when your next meal is going to be, you don't have the luxury to be thinking about emotional stuff, right? And that's how it has been for the vast majority of the African history. Now, if we look at, I want to use my dad as an example. My dad is a very intelligent man, right? Very hardworking man. He works hard, does everything he needs to do to provide for his family. And using my dad as a template, you would find that there are so many men like that across the African world. When the child is growing, they don't have that emotional connection. But when the child is grown, then they try to have an emotional connection with the child. And oftentimes the child is resistant because it's like, I don't know you. This is weird. This is not the dynamic that we grew up with. Why are you now trying to like have conversations with me? And I remember when my dad started talking to me, it was like that. But then I'm one of those people that likes to study people, and I've studied my father, and I understood how he was. So I was the one that made that birth. But most people don't have that opportunity. In dealing with most fathers, they don't have and I don't blame them, the way they were raised. They don't have the emotional line to be able to relate with their children as children. The only time that they seek to have that relation is when the child is grown. So now that you're an adult, at least there's some kind of intellectual um, playing field that we can now be on. But when you're a child, you're a child. I can't talk to you. You don't understand. That thing when they talk about, oh, we are color, you won't understand when you grow. So when you are now grown, then they now try to start having that link with you. But that's not how it works. In order for you to establish that link with an adult, you first need to establish it with them as a child, especially as a parent. So if you don't do certain things, if you don't encourage certain um, dynamics when the child is young, growing up, it becomes very weird. So that's how I come with what Amma was talking about. The child only knows their father to be giving money. They don't know that the father likes football. They don't know that the father is proud of them with their grades. They don't know none of that because to the father, all he has to do is make sure that you survive to adulthood. Once you reach adulthood, then we can start having that conversation, which is terrible. I have made it my personal decision that I want to be very much invested in my children's lives. I won't be a helicopter parent, but at the very least, I want them to be able to come to me and talk to me with whatever it is they're going through in life because I didn't have that growing up. My parents, I can confident, my parents think they know me, they don't know me. They have a curated version of me. Why? Because I didn't have the ability to fully express myself with them as a child. So growing up, I tend to be very, I won't say very, but I tend to keep certain things away from my parents, which is a normal thing because of how the dynamic was. But I seek to break that chain. I want to be much more invested in my children's lives. I want them to be able to talk to me about everything. And when all
Okay.
is said and done, we'll be able to break the cycle.
I'm wanted to say something.
Mhm.
So you see, There are two things that trauma and oppression does to a person. It's either they become exactly that, or they tell themselves, I never wanted this. There are two things. So you end up seeing that there are two trajectories of people where one group is traumatized or oppressed right from the way they grew up, and they are holding on to that because they think that's how life should be. So now it's their turn to also oppress people or whoever is beneath them. And then there's the other side, like Jay, who says to themselves, I never had this growing up, or I experienced this growing up and I didn't like it, so my children are not going to experience it. So initially, when I said it's all about how it affects the individual and the individual's willingness to learn and unlearn, to dismantle and deconstruct and relearn. It's all about the individual. Where you choose to be. One time, my sister was telling me something. She said, if you go online, you're going to find people who resonate with the things that you're saying. So if you're someone that's sad and you want to wallow in your sadness, you're going to find sad content with people who are relating to it in the comment section. And then you're going to find another set of people who are also sad. They are also depressed and all, but there are people that are trying to teach others how to get out of it. So it's not about you being sad. It's about what you want to do with the sadness. It's not about you being traumatized. It's about what you want to do with that trauma or what you want to do with the oppression. It can either make you the same thing that you didn't like, or it can make you a difference from what you didn't like for a better person.
I do agree with him, and I think it's a very good thing that Jay was saying that he doesn't want his children to experience, the things that he did experience. He wants them to have more, a better connection with their father, and I think that's a great mindset to have, that we are breaking the chains. And I, for one, will say this that the majority of the problem is that when we teach our children something that we inherit from our parents, our forefathers, we tend not to question, and especially, for example, religious values. Okay, most of us, I remember myself, I was just told, go to church, go do this, you should pray. You didn't, but it never came to why I needed to do those things. So here I am doing something where I don't understand why I am doing it, But if you do question the why, the immediate response to your question of why is violence. You get beaten, you get shamed, you get done things that are not necessary. So then once you ask yourself, what does it make you as a person? It shapes you in a way that, okay, you understand quickly asking questions equal to getting yourself whooped. So to avoid getting whooped, you what? Stay quiet. With stay quiet, the anger stays in you for years to come. So then when you become an adult, and now that you are above the age of getting your ass whooped, and as you said, now it is you that is doing the ass whooping. So now the anger that you've held into you since childhood, now you are dishing it out on other innocent children. So now the cycle never ends because you have to let the anger go somewhere. And then it begs the question that, and many people have heard it, that let's say black people don't need therapy, or some people don't need therapy, but church is our therapy. But you don't speak when you go to church, and I think that it's very sad that our solution to all the problems that we have is pray about it. you know Anything problem you have, yeah, pray, God will help you. And our state of mind is very desperate. Our state of mind is very dire, and we can see it in how it reflects on our environment. You see, when animals defecate, have feces around themselves, it states two things: either they are in a how do I call it, a vulnerable place, state of mind, or they use it as a form of protection, right? So when you live in a society where the state of mind of the average person is so low, and so desperate and so damaged, you see that it reflects on the environment. You see garbage everywhere because the mind is filthy. Because if you were happier, you don't want to. Usually, I find myself in situations that when I want to clean my room or my house, usually when I'm in happier states of life. I don't know if anyone on the panel is the same, but when I'm happier, the more I want my environment to reflect my state of mind. So it's like when you are not taken care of as a person, you don't even you are not capable of taking of others. And I think that is the problem. And I think the recent floods that are happening in Ghana, in Accra now, Scott, there's a problem where the city is flooding. Okay, so then one begs the question, why is the city flooding? Some people will claim that it is garbage. People just throw garbage everywhere. Others will say it's a problem of discipline. Some will blame it on the government. But everyone blames it on something else. You know. But I think though everything is true, but here nothing is being done, and it says much about the state of mind of the people. That listen, why will I care about the environment when I myself don't know what to eat tomorrow? Why will I spend my today trying to clean the gutters where I should be looking for something to eat? And I think that is the reason why our societies are underdeveloped and our people are the way they are. And I think the only way that these can change is through the intervention of the younger people, where we reshape society in ways that we know is beneficial. I know you want to say something about that, Amma.
Oh, so with that, I'll say, you remember initially I said in Africa we're too poor that the only thing that we are more concerned about is money.
True.
So everybody wants to get their next meal, to get their next paycheck, to get their next source of income, and they forget every other thing that comes with that process. So the watcher seller will go and sit by the roadside. She doesn't care about the state of the gutter. She doesn't care about who is throwing water around as long as they are getting their money from the customers. That's all. So they make the money, they litter the place, and they only clean the four corners of where their shop ends. And they walk away with whatever they got for the day, forgetting that you will come back and pay the bigger price if you keep quiet on the things that are around you.
Mm.
Eh,
Uh,
that's exactly how poor we are. The only thing that we are focused on is money, whether big money, small money, moderate money, whatever money. As long as it's a conversation about money, we throw our consciences in the garbage and just go for the money. So it's more about survival, desperation to be rich, and we are not content as a people, trust me. Contentment is not complacency. I always tell people contentment is different from being complacent. Complacence is there's something you can do to make your condition better, but you just want to be where you are. That's complacency.
mm.
Contentment is I would love to get a G Wagon. Do I have a G Wagon? No. But I have a Vitz. I appreciate the Vitz. So I'm going to keep working as much as I can. So maybe in the next 5 years, even if I don't have a Vitz, I'm looking to get like a Corolla. In the next another 5 years, I'm looking to get like, let's say, another decent car until the right time comes and I have a G Wagon. And even if I never get a G Wagon, I still appreciate the progress and the improvements that I've made in my life. That is contentment. But a regular Ghanaian man wants to be despite in 2 days. So we throw all our conscience, all our intelligence, and everything down the drain. And the only thing that we focus on is how we are going to make the next $1 million in the next 5 days.
Yeah,
So
that's true.
we're dirty and we think that is not a problem. We are violent, we don't think that is a problem. We are uncouth, we don't think that is a problem. The only time that a Ghanaian man thinks someone is having a problem is when they don't have money.
Mm. That,
So
that
that's why,
that's that's something, man. And I think you
yeah.
said it. You said it perfectly. Yeah. When you don't
So
have money, that's when it's yes,
when you
yes.
don't have money, that's when they think you have a problem. But if you are an abusive person, they don't see it as a problem. If you are sexually indisciplined, they don't see it as a problem. As long as you have money, you can get away with every stupid thing that you do. And as long as you don't have money, even your intelligence is seen as stupid. Nobody cares about it. And it's so sad that we're dirty, we're uncouth, we are violent, we are sexually indisciplined, we have no knowledge or no skill whatsoever because the only thing that we want to have is money.
I agree with it. And what you were saying had me thinking, you know, about even, especially when you said the thing about the only time you are viewed as having a problem is when you don't have money. So then it begs the question, what kind of person do society expect you to be, or what kind of even emotions is society allowing you to express? Because with what you're saying, that means the fact that people only see you to be lacking in life when you don't have money, but if you do have money and everything is good, that means society is building itself in a way that if you're rich, then you're good, you're well off, you know.
Do you see how rich people get away with everything they do, even when it comes to the face of the law?
Yes.
Exactly what I'm talking about. You can be rich and you get away with everything. Everything, literally. A rich person can beat someone up, send people to go and beat someone up, pay them, and once they mention, oh, this person was hired by that rich person to, everybody keeps quiet about it. Even the people that are supposed to help you seek justice, they'll tell you, oh, this person is powerful, we can't go against him, so let's just let it go.
Mm.
Rich people get away with a lot in Ghana, but guess what, in foreign countries, it doesn't matter how rich you are.
No, I think it does matter because rich
It
people too
does.
get away with a lot. It's just like when you don't play ball, that's when you get thrown uh, under the bus, you know. But yes, globally, rich people get away
Let me
with
put it
everything.
let
Yeah.
me put it let me put it in more hindsight for you.
Hmm.
You see, in a foreign country, right? You may be rich, you can do some shady stuff. Just pray that nobody sues you with evidence, clear evidence pointing to you.
Hmm.
When it gets to the court, your money wouldn't be what the court is looking at. But look, Ghanaians, they will beat you and even record it and send the video back to you with every evidence. No, no, that's how serious it is. A 51-year-old man can sit on a national television and say that he has been sleeping with a 14-year-old girl, and it's quiet. That is him expressing the evidence himself. Oh, but because he has money, nobody will go after him. You see how different it is in a community where you just need to pray nobody sues you with clear evidence. Because if they do, and there's clear evidence that points to you, we all saw R. Kelly, we all saw PDD. As long as there's evidence against you, you won't get away with it. But over here, the person will record the evidence and even send it to you that if you have the balls, take it to court.
Mm. No,
Because you know you don't.
sorry to cut you off, but I do agree with you, and I know that it's not comparable. But yet again, we live in a society where, and I think it's very um, reflective of what the Catholics used to do, especially the essaying of children. Because in Christian societies, when a child is being sexually assaulted, the blame is pushed on the person who does the abusing, so the man, for example, or the adult. I mean, sorry, the blame is on the child, not the adult, and the consequences for the adult sexually assaulting a child is that pray for forgiveness. That is the only consequences that the adult gets, and they blame it on the devil. And that's usually how uh, that mindset have shaped our society on uh, on sexual assault because it becomes normal and people become numb to these things because it is religiously um, right. You know what I'm saying? And once people put the approval of God on their stupid behaviors, it becomes, how do I call it, a divine something where people have the ordained right to do it. And I think that's the problem that our society face, that you can't have state and religion interfering with each other. But here lies the country where you allow, let's say, religion to interfere with state law. In many regards, it's the will of God, and then there's no need to put evidence. So yeah, I blame it on the religion to be it, whether the religion of people who have made it to be the way it is, to be the reason why people are able to sexual assault. And I think also respect to a child who, imagine you sexually assaulted as a child, a girl or a boy, and that's all you know. So you think that being intimate with someone should come with such such cockery, such kind of fucked upness. So you only, and I know a lot of girls that do have a thing for older men because when they were younger, or an older gentleman took advantage of them, and to them that's what they've used to it. Where he'll tell you, don't tell anybody. If you do, you are a bad person. You are this, and I think upon my life, one thing I realized that, you see, and I'm not making an excuse for this, that mainly when young girls get sexually assaulted, right? As a young age, you don't understand the significance of it, right? You know that something has happened, but you don't necessarily understand how severe it is. When you get older and you finally understand the severity of what happened, that's when you become fucked up. And usually that's what happens when people grow older and understand, oh, this, so what this man did to me was wrong. And that's when people become fucked up. And I think it also, uh, imagine that person would also have children, and then what, either they groom their children to be like those men, or they can't even grasp, like, oh, I've given birth to a child, what if he's gonna be like that man, you see? So people are not able to express um, their emotions and how they are ought to raise their children in the way they want to raise their children. And it's very sad to live in an environment where people are not genuine in themselves, and it begs the question, um, are we benefiting from the current state of mind that our people are in, or post-colonial people are in?
Honestly, none of us is benefiting. In fact, we are actually trying our best to not get stuck in it too. And that alone is a lot of work. The fact that we are even trying to not get stuck in that cycle is actually too much work on us right now.
Mm,
Nobody is benefiting. Because trust me, what exactly about post colonial time is good to the black man or a black woman? Do you know that I was told a history when I was in primary school that culturally, children were considered as gods and you dare not even hit them. It was against the rule of the community to beat a child because they were considered as gods. They were considered as children were considered as people who can see you and see through you. Even now, people still believe that if you are pregnant and a child touches your stomach, they can tell you what gender you are having.
mm,
They can tell you exactly what that child is going to come to this world to become. They still believe in that. So children in our colonial before colonization, children were revered as supreme creatures. But guess what? The colonial master came here, and then for you to be able to keep your child in line so that they don't cause trouble for you, the only way to deal with the child is to beat them up so that they don't go out there and cause trouble for your family. And now, after colonization, it became a thing.
that's true, and I think you just said it, and
It
it, it,
became a
it, it
thing after
it gave me
colonization that
memories.
the only way well, Leonard, the only way to keep a child like conformed is to beat them up. But then before colonization, it was never like that. Before colonization, Africans were not known to be wearing clothes from our head to our toe. So women were not really being sexualized and leaving anything to the imagination because all the titties and the bumps are all over the place. Before colonization, modesty wasn't really a thing. But look at how the European women used to dress back in the 1800s.
It,
Covered from their head, with their mask, with gloves, with this, with all that, right to the foot. And now they came here, now they brought that to us. Our
I,
mothers used to, and they chow mumu.
I wanted
So
to.
even though yes, new ways of dressing and other things have come, now we are so indoctrinated in the concept of modesty that people think it's okay to even sexualize someone just because of how they are dressing, because it was a thing after the colonization thing, and it's so terrible.
I wanted to ask a question. It goes to everyone on the panel too. Growing up, what kind of emotions were you allowed to express? And when you were forbidden from expressing those emotions, where did those emotions go? I so people do comment and all.
Yeah, sure. So when I was growing up, my old man wouldn't really didn't appreciate my fits of anger, little old temper tantrums and stuff like that. Um, you know, ADHD, AF, all those things that I had. He wasn't really great with communicating those things, so a smack upside the head was usually the appropriate response for him. Um, whether that was right or wrong, I have no idea. I'm going to be a little bit short on this live because I don't really have much to contribute. I have no kids. I'm not raising any kids of my own and won't be. I suffered an injury in grade 7 karate class where I'm not going to be able to have children. So I kind of lucked out there. But my old man was a great guy. He did a pretty good job raising me. Those emotions that I displayed when I displayed them, he tried to find little outlets for me, playing soccer or martial arts or hockey. Keep me occupied, keep me utilizing those emotions into a more useful manner. So that's kind of how he did it. But when I got out of line, hey, when I was younger, it'd be a spanking. When I got a little bit older, it'd be a cuff upside the head. Don't do that. Punishments, all that kind of stuff. So I turned out okay. I don't. I see far too often at work, uh, fatherless sons doing things that you know had they had a dad like that was there to cuff them upside the head or get them to fall in line with what is acceptable behavior and what isn't acceptable behavior. Those lack of lessons have a cumulative effect on the individual, and that individual uh, would come across people like me in law enforcement and have kind of negative kind of outcomes. So I see that all too often. more than I want to. Even late till late last night, Friday, I was called into work by the OPP uh, for two of those individuals who were, now the police are looking for them. So
Well,
these types of things have a cumulative effect on the individual, and it's kind of why we're in this situation
you
that we
know,
have right now with these.
Scott, the I wanted to ask you a follow-up question, and this is a philosophy that I hold that if you ever want to even hit the child, the only time you should hit the child is when the child does something that the child's life is at risk, or they are endangering someone else's life. That's the only two times I find that it's justifiable, and that's a if, justifiable to hit the child, you know. But growing up, I felt and I realized easy earlier, and I think most of the people on this panel will agree that the only time you could be seen is when you express the emotion of anger. And the reason why I say this, that it's like when you live in an environment where people are hostile. Let's say your father, for example, was smacking you because he was like expressing his anger. Um, you quickly realize that in order for you to put a stop to discomfort is either to outweigh him in the angerness. So I remember growing up, right? The only time that if you say something, oh, stop, just softly saying someone to stop, they continue. You had to use some kind of either tone, you raise your tone, or some kind of violence in order for people to understand the severity of what you're saying. So that people don't, were never taught to listen to you in softer tones, but rather to respond to violence. So when you live in a society where all people only respond to violence, either your parents or whatever, especially myself, for example, I used to run away a lot, okay, from home. Now I'm putting out there, I used to run away a lot. So the only time where someone will understand that I don't like what is going on is when after I run away and they'll find me and bring me. But that's when people understand, okay, what we did was wrong. You understand? And I think it's very particular. So then it became a thing that in order for me to get my point across is just to leave the house. So there was never a time where like you could sit down and talk about it, or people understand just because you're a child. Oh, this child is saying I don't like what's going on, and yes, we have to listen and do better. No, you had to run away, and I think it's very problematic that you live in a society where you have to, again, express the emotion of anger all the time in order for people to hear you out. So imagine that happens for especially those who live in the society for years. People, because it takes time for some people to grow out of how do you call it, that fear of challenging their parents. Some people do it in their 40s, some people do it in their 30s, and so on. And when you do eventually get there, the way to, how do I call it, punish them back, because as a human being we are selfish people, and we always need to punish people for what they did to us, is also expressing anger. So the circle never ends, and usually it is too late because we haven't fixed our traumas, but then we've passed it on to our children. So it's like sometimes we are also innocent but also guilty in the way that we express ourselves.
I have a question.
Yes.
So, if if you've observed, most of the things that we're talking about is the problem and how it came about. Is there
hmm
a way we can fix it, especially for us who have already grown up? Is there a way we can fix who we are?
of there is a way to fix it, and in many cases some of us are not ready to face the challenges, or the problems yet. In many cases, sometimes distancing yourself from the same people that are causing you harm is a necessity, and it is a must. And the same reason why we as humans, we don't want to live amongst snakes. We don't live, want to live wild animals, because eventually they're gonna do you harm. So one of the fixes is distancing yourself from these people. And some of us, it is hard for us to do because we are either tied, to them in terms of money because we get some benefits here and there, or for some other reasons, you know, and that's the reason why we can't live. So you are forever bound in that cycle, and you are a prey for eternity. The other ways are to create communities where people can voice their frustrations, and that one is actually easier said than done. But yet again, there are people who hold the belief that they don't need therapy. You know, that black people don't need therapy, or I don't need therapy, or these men don't need therapy, or men shouldn't cry. So why would I cry about my problems? Everyone has a problem, you know. But we have to put the country in a mood where people understand that these kind of problems affects our society. You know, I was in Ghana 2 years ago, and I think I've said this once before. I was fighting with this teacher who was beating a child, and I was observing this teacher, and he had beaten the child like 5 lashes or something, and I was telling him, okay, it's enough. You know, I've seen you beat him. Whatever the child did, the child now understands what it did to be wrong. Okay, so then he went back to the classroom to change the canes because he want a bigger cane. The child wasn't crying, so the child wasn't expressing the emotions he wanted to see. So here lies this man bringing back a cane, and he was continuing. So I asked the child, what did you do? You know, I always blame the victim for a certain period of time. So I asked the child, what did you do? He said, oh, I didn't do my homework. Okay, no problem. What kind of homework? It's like, oh, I had like a homework where I have to do research. I said, okay, no problem. A research homework, and he's beating you like an animal? Okay, then I'm like, I'm coming to the school. Now, I have deemed the teacher to be in the wrong. So then I took a couple of weapons with me, and I and I rushed into the school, and I was facing the teacher. I'm like, okay, now you are wrong because now it's enough, you know, and that's the thing that you've been told that it is enough. What you've done is enough, but it's like the uh, how will I say it? The entitlement to express your anger outweighs the emotions of the victim. You know that my end game, I want to achieve tears and unto or blood until I have seen that. I will beat the child until I see tears. I will beat the child until I see blood. And then imagine what it does to that society. You know, that child will grow up and thinking that is the only way, you know, to correct the child, as you mentioned earlier. It's either through
But
blood or sweat.
also,
Yes.
do you also realize that most of the time that we were being beaten by our parents and our teachers and all, it wasn't out of discipline. Because
No.
growing up, I've come to understand that before you discipline someone, they first need to know what they did. That's what they do in court. They need to know what you did, what even brought you to the point of what you did, and then they give you a punishment that is equal to the crime you committed. That is befitting for the crime you committed, right? But then a lot of our parents, teachers, uncles, brothers, they were beating us because they were angry. So they were beating us to satisfy their anger, not
Mm,
because they wanted to discipline us. So most of the time they beat you and they don't even tell you the right thing to do.
yeah. You know,
They
and
beat you until, and sometimes they beat you, and if you're not crying, they beat you more so that you cry. So sad. Like you beat someone, and sometimes they'll do something to you, and when you cry, they'll tell that they will give you something more to cry about. So it was never about what you did. It's about how it made them angry and how they are reacting to their anger, not because they want to discipline you.
mm, you
So
know,
most of the wasn't really discipline. It was just abuse.
and
Tell
the
me
people.
why you will use a bucket fire to beat a 5-year-old boy because he left the house
My
and came back at 2 p.m.
my dad would always tell me, "I'm doing this because I love you." So I don't know.
that, that is the
I
most
was I was
abusive statement you can tell a
well,
child. You know,
maybe it was a different time though, right? Like
it
I'm
wasn't.
I'm
You know.
I, I'm 48 years old. My dad was he was part of what's called the '60s scoop, where the Canadian government came into Indian reservations and took all the children out and put them into foster care. So his upbringing was 10 times worse than mine. Um, but at the same time, when I wrecked his car, I got, I was only 14 when I did that.
That
Not
one I
even old enough
agree.
for.
I agree. If you wreck a man's car, you deserve to get your ass whooped. I'm
Yeah,
just, I'm just
I
kidding.
wrecked, I wrecked his car. I was 14 years old. I was brought home by the police. Um, no driver's license, no insurance, no nothing. I was 14 years old, 2 years before I was allowed to have a driver's license. I got beat. That was I fucked up. There was no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I needed to learn a lesson because, I look back at it now. I was like, A, I was a stupid kid. B, I probably knew at the moment that it was wrong to do. And leaving the scene of an accident afterwards out of fear was also problematic. So, you know, um, yeah, like there's.
Scott. Not to cut your statement short, but I don't think children are unaware of their actions. I think children are very aware of what they do, and we have all
Oh,
been a
yeah.
child, and I've been aware of the reasons why I do things, and sometimes it is exactly what it is to achieve something. And I can guarantee you the reason why children, in many cases, times act out is because of the conditions in which they are living at home. I've worked with kids and stuff, and rarely do kids who live in a good home act out in ways that we did, or want to put themselves in hostile environment because the evidence points to that they want to punish their children and their parents. And that's what most of the evidence point to, that I want to pay back. And the only way to pay back is to be acting out, to let the community be aware of the current state that I find myself in. And I think that is the reason why many children act out the way they do, because of the conditions in which their parents create.
Yeah, it's a lot like the Catholic Church. I find it's love through fear.
Hmm.
Um, you respect your parents, obviously. You're with my dad. I always respected the beating when I got it. Like that was a decision maker for me. Uh, look like moving forward from it. Like I would always think, is this going to get my ass spanked? Is this?
Hmm.
I'd start asking myself these questions before I start doing things. So I don't know. I in some aspects, I'm glad I don't have children because I have that mindset of do as you're told because I said so kind of attitude that I definitely got that from my dad.
Hmm.
Um,
Which is wrong.
but yeah, it could be. It could be wrong, but what did he know? He was taken from his parents at 11.
Yeah, I do understand, but I wanted to ask the question this, and it goes to everyone watching and everyone on the panel. As a man, Scott, are men allowed to express or cry?
Oh, they should be able to. Lord knows I have.
Hmm.
I cried at all of my.
To that question. I have a question to that question.
Hmm.
Who is judging?
Because when you
Society.
when you grow up as a man,
Yeah,
right?
society. Because I ask myself, are men allowed to do this? Are women allowed to do this? Who are we trying to prove a point to? And who is counting? Who is watching? Who is marking? Who is keeping tabs?
People.
So I always say this. Anytime your decision about your life is because of what people will say or do, that's when you become a failure. Now, stay with me. So, I want to make money, right? I am making money because money is an essential and necessary a necessity for surviving and being able to get comfortable. Because money can afford you comfort. But if I'm making money to prove to people and show off to people, I'm a failure. Because the time will come, those people that I'm trying to show off to, they will not be there to even see me. They may not even care.
Mm.
So now I have the money, but I'm not happy with the money that I have. Because the people that I thought were watching, they don't even care. God has given you, I wouldn't say God, because I'm saying God because of the religious people here. I'm not religious. You have one life. From the moment you're born, your final destination is the day you die. So you want to live this precious, beautiful life, proving a point to society that you're good. I'm a witch. Proud one. Believe I'm a witch and keep going. As long as I'm not breaking the laws of the country, this is the ultimate law that protects me, protects you, and protects all of us from each other. As long as I'm also not infringing on other people's fundamental human rights. Trust me, I don't give a heck who society is, because guess what? I am also society to someone else. In someone's books, I am society. And do you think someone will care what I have to say about their life? So why should I care what the next person close to me has to say about my life? As long as I'm not breaking laws or infringing on anyone's rights. Your religious opinion, your traditional opinion, your moral opinion doesn't count. As anything that is being practiced that makes no sense, that is not applicable, that has no meaning to the life that I'm actually building.
Yeah, I'm not sure I agree with that because if you're out there right now in society, say, oh, I don't know, in high positions of power and are having sexual relations with children that you find on the internet or by these types of things, I think you should be judged and ridiculed and all of those things, and you should care what society thinks.
The thing you mentioned now are criminal, and it's against
Yeah,
the law.
well, yeah. If you're a thief, if you've learned the to be a thief and you've chosen to be that way, people should be able to look at you and judge you as a thief and put you into the classification of being not bondable, not trustworthy, uh, those types of things. So I think maybe there is. Uh,
That's why I said that as long as whatever you're doing is not against the law of the country, and you're not
but
infringing on other people's rights.
but the
Because
topic is this: the social standard. It's not. It's not. It's not the individual's uh, uh, inability to not care. You should care, is what I'm saying.
but
Uh,
the laws of the country is what gives us the society standard. So if you're a thief, according to the law, you should be judged. If you're,
I think everyone's
what the
judged
fuck,
whether we want to
man?
be or not.
if you're a
No.
child abuser, you should be judged according to the law. So that's why you see someone doing something that is criminal. The first thing you do is to call the police. Because that is standardly not normal according to the state that governs the entire society that we're in.
But this kind of goes back to having the ability of having money and having to be uh, not accountable for the things that they do because they have money. Like it goes back to that. Justice is only justice if it's served. Right now, you have rich people who own police, who own their budgets, who use compromising materials to extort people for decisions or whatnot. That's the world we live in right now.
S Sorry.
I, I think I
TikTok.
think
Wait,
when
hold on, guys. TikTok was just restricting me because we're saying like this is a pre-recorded event, and I'm like, how? We are this is live as it can be. So we've been restricted for 10 minutes, but we can keep continuing and talk. I don't know why they
Yeah,
restrict me all the
see,
time.
see, even there, we're being edited. You know,
How
as
can
soon
this be
as you put,
pre-recorded? It's like this is as live as it
well,
can be live.
that's so that what they've done is the monitors, whoever monitor these things, have hit pause because I hit a hot topic about a person in high power, which I was unspecific about, doing things to children, which I was unspecific about, and being in positions of power and holding power over police, over law enforcement entities, all unspecific. I didn't even, and then they hit pause on your recording.
Yeah, it's fine. This is normal days. Like I'm usually happy when I'm restricted because it tells me I'm doing something good.
Yeah, well, that's the metric now, right? Like
Yeah,
that's
you know, but
crazy that that's the metric now, but that is the metric.
let's bring it back just a moment. And now we're talking about masculinity, right? So, I'm gonna mute you for a moment, Scott. Sorry, thank you. And the question is, did colonialism, reshape the idea of masculinity? You know, in many aspects of it, I believe it to be true that the foreign understanding of what a man is to be is sometimes what we currently inherit or use, right? At that a man is supposed to provide and take care of the family, and those are the things that are in many aspects are foreign to us because a woman, we as I am I used to remember that women are as capable as a man is or men are. Therefore, a man is able to do, let's say, some aspect of things that a woman is not capable, but is not necessarily better done. But here comes the colonial idea that people who are masculine are better done, and people who are feminine. So then it begs the question: what are you guys' understanding of what masculinity is? And those in the comments can actually also comment and share
I
yours
kind of
too.
I kind of see it as privilege plus one. It's the difference. If you go masculine and I can only speak to North America because I've only ever lived in North America. Um, if you're a man in North America, you are automatically more useful. They pay you more money. They you have more job opportunities. A lot of the how would I say that? Christian ideologies have encouraged women to stay home, raise children, make dinners, clean the house, clean the laundry, those types of things. Kept women. The women who go out into the workforce are faced with, man, I couldn't imagine being a woman in the workforce. They face all kinds of challenges that you know uh, precursor judgments as to their abilities, especially in like manual labor situations. In the higher up, more elite things like lawyers, in the police force, they're they're precursored and prejudged on just the fact that they're a woman. Sometimes it's encouraged because it's a useful tool for policing to have women on the force, but at the same time, it's as we just saw in where was that? Nova Scotia somewhere, or Montreal, where the guy was shooting, and they ended up having to shoot the shooter or whatever. But there was a partner and his woman partner, police officer, and they were both injured in the thing. And I guess the lady didn't even get a shot off. Couldn't get her gun out of the holster or something like that. Anyways, like those types of things, uh, it's worse for women, and yeah, that's kind of what I think about it.
Well, I know that men are capable of performing in some situations, or some men, I would say. I mean, well, some men are capable of performing better in some situations than some women. And then we have in the vice versa is also true. But I for one, have only experienced the, if we should put masculinity into brackets, um, under Christian ideology of what a man is supposed to be. And I think that is the ideology that has made our countries a failed state, where the only value you bring as a man is determined by what you can provide. So, with that said, um, nothing else matters as a man. So then, if you were expressing any other emotions, then it's invalid because it doesn't bring put food on the table. And I think it is the major reason to why our societies are in shambles, because a man's value is measured on what he can provide. And as I'm was saying that it's so damaging to the fact that if you are rich, you can get away with almost everything, even in court, even if the evidence is stacked against you. And I think it speaks volume to the state of mind in which we find ourselves in. The state of mind that I earlier said, categorized as resilience. That is the state of mind that many Africans find themselves in. If anyone has anything to say, just say. Then we can move on. There are more questions to be answered.
I personally do not really know what masculinity is, but then I would say that I can describe a man as masculine enough if that man is comfortable with his abilities and he uses it in a way that doesn't harm others. So I say this that everyone in this world is getting used, right? But an abnormal use of your power you have over someone is called abuse. Abnormal use of the power you have over someone becomes abuse. But then naturally, we are all supposed to be useful. Naturally, we are all supposed to be useful. So if a man has certain abilities that another gender or someone in their age group or whatever does not have, I would describe that man as a masculine person if they use those privileges that they have to benefit everyone else, including themselves. So it's not like they are throwing who they are away to benefit others, but they are using it for the benefit of everyone, including themselves. So if you have strength and we find ourselves in a situation where we need someone who is strong to lead in that aspect, we can fall on your strength to lead us all through. If it comes to a point where we need someone that is more financially stable, we can fall on your finances. And for me as a feminine person, right? If it comes to a place where my emotions is what we need to get us through a situation, everyone else can fall on that emotion and then we go through. I don't use my emotions to leverage over you the same way you don't use your physical strength or the privileges you have with the gender that you find yourself in over me. That's what I describe femininity and masculinity. Because we have certain strengths that you as a man, I swear that you can't do it. The same way, there are certain things a man will do. I may be able to do it to a certain extent, but not to the extent of what a man will do. I don't know if I'm making sense. But then, how we benefit each other with what we have, and we know we can fall on each other in places where we are weak or we fall short. That is what masculinity is and what femininity also is.
I do agree with that. There's not a clear definition of such, but rather what people deem it to be. So that back to what we are speaking about, the expression of anger as usually the only emotions that many African men express. But then likes the question, and I think Scott, you understand this one with your speaking about what you said about your father is, did survival, in any situation you have required you to suppress your emotions in order to survive in the environments that you find? Did it require some kind of suppression of emotions?
Oh well, yeah. My dad, definitely wanted me to suppress think things through, try to be more clear, precise, diplomatic with my emotions. Um, kind of be considerate of others. All those things. He would suppress uh, talking about certain topics. Certain things were taboo to talk about, so um, I kind of had to figure things out for myself a lot. But that's the same as him. That's the way he was raised. So yeah, I don't know. I agree.
No, because the thing is, when it comes to suppression of emotions, I've seen it with the men that have grown around me. When, let's say, their fathers were doing something that they didn't like, and you wanted to speak out or something to tell you, no, shut up, you don't say anything against grandfather or anything. And I think it is very particular that in order for I to survive as your father and you to survive as my son, suppress your emotions, because that is the way forward and the only way to survive. And I think it's very particular that we feed those kind of survival skills, and after a long time it becomes a part of us where we don't even think about. It becomes something we do that we are not conscious about, and the way we suppress our emotions. And then when we come into the theater of dating, we find ourselves not able to express genuine love or positive love, because the only way we know how to express love is the way we were raised. And in many cases, providing, think that's the only thing that you need to love you. So he will go out and work and bring home money. I gave you money, love me. So so what they bring to the table is their money, but nothing else. But it gets to a point where you need more than money. And the same goes with women who bring their body to a relationship, that in some cases you need more than the body of a woman. You need her mind, her presence, and other things. So for me, yes, I would say it is true that to survive in certain situations it requires some kind of emotional suppression, but it shouldn't be that way, that you should be able to express your emotions and still survive. You know, I am in a situation where sometimes I allow people to express their discomfort with me, and I tell them, I hear your protest, but I choose not to listen. You know, that's what I tell them. Your protest has been noticed, but I choose not to listen. Amago, do you want to say something, or we should move on to the next question?
I'm actually gonna have to run here. I got some dog issues I gotta look into.
No worries, no worries. Just fix you. I think next time we'll have a question. And as I say, Scott, if there are topics and goes to you, Amatu, and anyone listening that you wish
Well,
to
actually,
discuss,
I did have one. I did have one question because I wanted to bring
uh,
up a topic
yeah, for next week
for
lives,
and for next week's live.
yeah,
But
write it to me.
I needed to know it before I asked, because I didn't know what Africa's situation was with the British and the Dutch colonies, if they made treaties with you guys.
They did. It's the same.
They did. Could we discuss the that topic, the topic of colonizer treaties, and maybe we could find some similarities in there. I can do some research on that.
Yeah, we can do it next week. I'll talk to you in private about that.
Excellent. All right, you guys have a great day today. I'm gonna go hit a beach somewhere.
Good. Enjoy your day.
Will do. Bye bye.
Bye bye. I'll just note it down for next week. So back to what I was saying, and yes, it requires some kind of suppression. So then it goes on to trauma. Most of us have been shaped by the traumas that we have and the people that raised us have and the society that we find ourselves in. The traumas that shape those societies and in return it influences us. So, can historical trauma influence families across generations? Is one question that I want to ask. And the answer is yes. We have more data to prove that historical trauma affects a family across generation than not. And it's one thing that we have to look into to understand why it yet still affects us across generation. Why is it that the fears that my grandmother held to be true still affects, let's say, me today, even though those fears are not realized, are not feasible in modern day society. These are the things that we have to look into. Do you, were you raised with a fear, a type of fear, how will I say, it, that was generational across your family?
Hmm. Well, for me, I was really rebellious, so I'll say yes, it was there, but I chose not to be part. Even at the age of 5, I was very rebellious.
Yeah, well, that's true, and I think I also realized quickly at the same age that the things that went around in our societies was wrong, and it didn't sit right with me. Therefore, I chose to live the life the way I'm living it now, to be rebellious and speak against the things that I find to be discomfort, or brought discomfort to me. Um, says how does unprocessed trauma affects parenting? Unprocessed trauma is one thing that many people face, a disease that many people face and people run away from. Yeah, okay, I see. What are you cooking? Maybe we'll come over and eat some. So unprocessed trauma is one thing that I think many people face, and at our age, when it comes to dating, you find people who, and I said earlier, would rather choose to date a different ethnicity because they are not able to trigger forth their trauma the same way someone from your country will. And I think it's very particular that people would rather choose to run away from their troubles than actually face them. Because when sometimes people meet me without knowing me, like, oh, African men are this way, African men are that way, and I'm like, you don't know me, you know, you don't know if I'm even I even subscribe to those ideologies or not, but you are painted with the same brush, and I think it's very particular that people say those things. Yes, sometimes they are true, but many times than one they are false. And in many regards, people would rather not face their trauma because trying to solve your trauma issues is one thing that is very difficult and it makes you challenge your entire existence. Your entire existence is in challenge, where in many cases, when you do realize the root cause of your trauma, the problem that it caused, the aftermath of it, is very devastating to the people around you. In many cases, they are the root cause of your problems, and therefore you have to do away with them in order for you to find a peace of mind or some kind of sanity in order to survive. And I think that is the realization that many people um, come to when they try to fix their trauma and they run away because they are not ready to even challenge it. Think, and this is one thing that people will be in relationship where it's not working, but they think that kids will fix the problem. That kids are the blessing. And I remember one commentator put it that kids are not a blessing, but they are rather a responsibility. Where people have to understand that choosing to have kids to fix a problem in many cases will intensify that problem rather than fixing it. So keep it at the back of your head when you try to use the kids that you make as a solution to your problems. So it says, do children inherit emotional habits more than emotional memories? And I think that is true. You know, when we grow up, we first see, before we even start voicing or talking. So you see what your parents did or do, and you want to do the same thing. In many cases, we don't understand why we do those things, but just because that it's our parents and those things are beautiful and it comes from our parents, we want to do the same thing. And I think that it is with um, great intention, or how will I say it, good intent, that children find themselves in situations where they want to do the things that their parents did. And even them, without them even thinking twice about it being good and right, just because it's from their parent, they automatically think it's good because that's my mother, that is my father. Why and how would they do me any harm, or why would they put me in a situation that is not beneficial to me? So that the people you trust the most, but in many cases they are the people who can do you more harm, that will last for generations. So it says like, what does emotional resilience look like? Emotional resilience is one thing that in many cases is what modern day Africa is, where we live in a society where our existence is shaped by the resilience and how we choose to tackle our problems. That we choose to tackle our problems through finding positive ways to deal with them. Rather, in some cases, we have to deal with the problems with hostility because it is a hostile problem towards us, but we've tried to find positive ways to deal with it. And I think that is the reason why our societies are and is in the situation that it's in, because of the fact that we choose to deal with the situations the way that we find them to be. And I ask myself, to what end? You want to say something? Oh, okay.
When it comes to our African society, you see, I will be raising my child with ideals, right? Another person is raising their child with whatever. Sometimes they are not even raising children, they are rearing them, making sure they are fed, they sleep, the next day they wake up. As long as the child is still alive, whatever happens, happens. Now, my child will have to understand the fact that going out there is a pack of wolves that are looking for a sheep to feed on. So even though I would want to raise my child in a way that they see life positively, like you're saying, we want to like use positive means to deal with bad situations. We should also understand that there are people out there that don't care about that. They are just ready and willing to pounce on you at every given opportunity. So, as much as we want to look at life positively, we also need to understand the reality on the ground that there are people who are naturally bad. There are people who are bad and they are looking for someone that they will take advantage of. So if you're too good without boundaries, you're going to be the prey.
Mm,
They're going to prey on you. So in as much as we want to look at life in a positive light and try to deal with horrible things with like positive mindset, some things deserve to be faced head on, very very head on. Face it exactly as it is. Don't sugarcoat it or don't try to like see it as it is, and then you will deal with it as you're supposed to. Someone told me that good people are always the target for bad people because good people think everybody else is good.
mm,
Good people always think that everybody else is good, but bad people think everybody is bad until they prove themselves to be good. So usually bad people don't always get caught off guard. And it's so unfair that as much as we are trying to see life differently, we still cannot get away with the fact that people are still raised recklessly and we will still deal with them in every point of our lives. I don't know if that makes sense to what you're saying.
It makes sense, and is what I also said that yes, we have to, and it's true. And I have a friend in particular in my head that, you know, that you're so good that people know you are good, so they're always counting that you'll be good, so they can get the selfish things that they usually get. And here lies me that telling them, bro, you stupidly good. You know that you are nice without limit. You know, someone will, can call you and say, hey, I want your house for a month. Then you pack your things and leave. Then they are in your house for a month or two. And I'm like, there should be a limit to how nice you are. You know, that it shouldn't affect your life negatively, you know, if you are nice. But there are some that being nice does affect their lives negatively, and I think it's very, very sad.
Bringing it back to our Ghanaian community, there are certain sayings, right? I've told myself, no, I'm not going to fall for that propaganda. Asumesi deɛ ɔyɛ nipa o. Asumesi deɛ hyɛ n'anum kora ɔbɛyi ama wo. Have you heard it before?
I've heard the first one, Simesi with Nipa.
Ɔyɛ nipa o. Ɛhyɛ n'anum kora a ɔbɛyi ama wo.
Mm,
It's a saying that they have that, or even if it's in her mouth, she'll bring it out and give it to you. It's used to describe someone who is good, someone who is selfless. And at the age of 14, I asked myself, why is something in my mouth and I'll have to take it out for someone to feel good, to solve their problem? I put it in my mouth first because I need it. I will swallow it and I'll come back and ask you how we are dealing with your problem. Because
mm.
I'm not regurgitating anything that is in my mouth to give to someone when I need it first. It's good to be hardworking, but unfortunately, in a Ghanaian community, if you enter any space where they are calling a particular person hardworking, it means everybody is dumping their own work on that person because they know they'll do it without complaining.
Yeah.
In a Ghanaian community, when someone is being praised for being good, usually you realize that they are just being people pleasing. So don't take you are a nice person, you're a good person, you're a selfless person from a Ghanaian person. Don't take it as something that is good. Sometimes look deep and ask yourself, are you really nice? Or these people are just trying to take advantage of how extra you are being with your niceness? Because Ghanaians are not naturally nice. Oh, Ghanaians will feed into your head a concept and make you believe that you are that. Then the moment you stand up for yourself, they'll be like, oh, you've changed. You used to not be like this. When they say you've changed, believe me, you are doing the right things. Because now you're not giving yourself freely for them to loot from you all the time. When it comes to the mind of a Ghanaian, I don't compare them to that of the people in the West.
No, no,
Because,
I think it's fairly the same.
oh, really? Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
the same. You know, greedy people are everywhere, and I think they are more prominent even here. That they will people will take
Because
advantage of you.
if you always want to be in the good books of people, you don't want to be seen as bad by people, you're always going to get preyed on.
Hmm. That is
Sometimes it's
true.
okay to bear the bad label. Sometimes let people know that it is strict over here so they don't bring nonsense to your doorstep. Sometimes you need to let people know that you are a little crazy. Not because you are, but they need to know that you can be that as well. So there are certain things before they do it to you, they ask themselves questions. But if you are too nice, too good, too old, all over the place, too selfless, they expect you to take everything they do to you because you're good.
Mm, that's true. That's true. and I think that sums out my experiences with people that I have in my life that are actually good and stupidly good. Uh, is that they are constantly being taken advantage of, and people are um, using them to do things that they would not necessarily um, would have done. Or it's like, I don't know if you experienced that. Some people who are so nice that they are almost
Now,
nice
let me tell you a
out of their
story.
own volition. Sorry?
Let me tell you a story.
Uh-huh,
Someone called me sometime that they needed financial help, right?
uh-huh.
And this person has never asked me for something like that before. So in my head, I didn't have what he needed at that time. So in my head, this is someone that has never asked me for any kind of favor before. And it being the first time, it means that probably they've counted all their options and the only person they could call is me. So I thought of going into my emergency funds to get some money to help. Then it clicked to me. And I asked him, like all this while, like, don't you have any emergency fund somewhere that you can fall? He told me that, oh, that one, it is for when he actually is in a life and death situation. And I pulled back.
Hey!
Now you see, that person
Yeah.
doesn't touch their emergency funds, but they have used my own emergency funds as a backup for their financial problem.
Mm,
So if I go ahead and pick money from my own emergency funds for this person, I'm not being a good person. I'm being foolish.
that's true.
Exactly. So some people know that when they come to you, they know that you go to every arm and leg for them. But they have the arm and leg they don't want to touch.
That's true, and I think it's very sad that people would do that. You know that I have to save myself, but at your own cost. And I think it's very selfish of that person. And I think it's just great intent because they know that yeah, I save my own for life and death situation because I understand the severity of having emergency money. But you should use your emergency money on me, and I think that's fairly selfish.
Exactly. You go to a workplace, you see an intern, and the reason why they are calling that intern a good person is because the person run errands for everyone in the facility. Bone
Mm,
aye watching list. Tin tin tin. You give it to the person. Person will go and buy watching for everybody in the facility. And that is, oh, he's respectful. He's very, very nice. He's good. But the one who wants to learn exactly what they've been brought there to do and has refused to be an errand person is called disrespectful. The irony.
yeah, the irony is evident and clear, and that is the situations that many of us find ourselves in. That people are how do I say, constantly taking advantage of us and our niceness, you know. And I think it's about time that you should limit yourself and protect your own sanity and to please yourself, but not. But then there are some people who actually get some kind of satisfaction from pleasing others. So I sometimes don't also blame the people who take advantage of them because it's like,
Trust me, you probe further into that and it comes from trauma from childhood.
mhm,
It is never normal
it's
for
not normal.
anyone to put above their own needs. No. It is not love if you're going to put your own happiness aside for others to be happy while you cry yourself to sleep. It is not normal. It's not. The same way it is not normal for you to put others in a situation where they will cry and that makes you satisfied. So both extremes are never normal.
Mm,
The
that's
one
true.
who put themselves away, the one who put themselves aside for others to shine is not normal. And the one who also sit on others so that they will shine is also not normal. So the extreme of those things, there always has to be a balance. And that is where the world is having a problem. You remember I mentioned that finding the balance of what is right and what is wrong is where we are having a problem now.
Mm.
That's where the whole chaos is coming from. Because a time will come, we're going to get to that balance, and it may not be the time that we are alive. It may be another generation that will find that balance, and that generation will thrive. Believe me.
Oh yeah, I for one hold the view that with
There was a
people like
time where
us,
there was a time where getting married, like you get to a certain age, and the next thing to do is to get married, have children, and that's it. And if you are not doing that, you were seen as abnormal, right?
mhm,
Now it has come to a point where you can be 35, and if you are not married, nobody's going to pester you. If you don't have kids at 35, nobody's going to pester you because now people see the weight of being married and having kids. And they realize that it is not for everyone. Not everybody is built for that. So people are now beginning to rationalize with it. And people are also asking, why must it be like that? Why must it be like at this age I should marry? Why? People are asking the big question, why? If they are not getting any reasonable answers to that, they are not conforming. A time will come, if people choose to have kids or not, nobody will say anything because that will become the new norm where people assess themselves and they realize that I am in the category of I don't want kids, I am the category of I want kids, I'm in the category of I want just a few kids, I am in the category of I want many kids because each one of us have assessed ourselves and realized that we can handle it. That will be the norm some years to come. A time will come, if you're single, nobody cares. If you're married, nobody cares. But right now, we are fighting between the two. Believe it or not.
no,
Right now, we are
I think
between the
most
two.
people don't care though, but it's just like loneliness is the reason why people choose
No,
the
when it
other.
comes to the issue of loneliness, I'll say that being alone and lonely is different. But being
Mhm,
with someone and still being lonely, that's worse.
that is true.
I would rather alone and lonely than to be with someone and be lonely. Because if in a Ghanaian community, trust me, once you get married, people will start distancing themselves one way or the other from you. Because it is assumed that once you have someone with you at home, you are not supposed to be lonely. That's why they think that people who don't have husbands and wives are always lonely. But trust me, those people have a bigger community. Believe me, those people have a bigger community where they have other friends that are also alone, but they form community and they are not lonely. But the
Mm,
moment you marry, everybody is going to start giving you space. So if the person you are with in the house is not filling that loneliness gap for you, you might die of depression. Believe me. So it is rather worse to be married or in a relationship and still be lonely than some. Of course, the one who is not in a relationship, everybody assumes they are lonely already. So what's there?
that's true.
Everybody assumes that, oh, women in their 30s who are not married, they go home and cry. Men who are in their 35 and 40s who are not married, they also go home and cry. Is the normal assumption. Nobody assumes that the one that is going into marriage is going home to cry. So if you go home and you are crying, then your situation is worse.
Mm,
They tell you to keep quiet about it. You can't wash your dirty rags outside. But guess what? We, the single ones, our dirty rags are already outside.
that's for sure.
Our dirty rags are already outside. People are already assuming that we are lonely, even if we are not. So it's normal for someone who's not married to say that they are lonely, and everybody will agree with it. But
Mm,
it's not normal for you who is married to say you are lonely.
yeah,
Do you get it?
I do
So
get
now
it.
we are in a situation where we are fighting single and married, single and in a relationship. A time will come when we find a balance. Everybody will not care anymore. So we are now in the crisis and the chaotic stage, which is normal.
I would like to continue the life beyond the time that I usually set, but due to Dad's call and today I have a few things to attend to. But
I
I'm
understand.
I'm trying to add one more day to the lives where I'm gonna have more of a monologue and a podcast style of live where it's more talking, maybe from my end, I don't know, and some few people. Then we do
Okay,
interviews. Then we put it on Spotify. That's what I'm thinking.
that's great. That's great.
So
Mm.
if you have a few
Because
ideas,
I've been in and out of school trying to build a business and also trying to get my building done.
hmm
And that's why I've not really been online recently like that. So um, once all that calms down, you definitely see me more. But you
oh,
can still send me your videos and stuff, and I'll like, comment, forward them, repost. I mean, the little ways I can support.
yeah, for sure I will do, and I will do the same. Now I'm streaming. Usually now I stream to YouTube and a TikTok. So if there are no people watching on the TikTok, there are people watching on the YouTube. So either way, there are viewers. Yeah, either way. But people who liked, shared, commented, participated, I do thank you. As always, we're back every Sunday. If there are topics that you do want to speak about, please feel free to share those topics, and I will definitely take it in consideration, and we'll have a live about your topics that you want to have. Uh, with that said and done, I'm done for now. Until next time.